What is real? That's a question I ask myself every single morning when the voices start. Hi, I'm David Pocknee. Obviously, of course I'm not. David Pocknee died in July 2019 when he developed a fatal allergy to adverbs. No, this is the David Pocknee Memorial Cinema, a cinema dedicated to his memory. So, I am not David Pocknee, but that's just an example of how difficult it can be to work out what is true and what is false, what is real and what is fake, what is fiction and what is documentary. And that is the theme of tonight's movies. The Oxford English Dictionary defines truth as well as many other words. It's a dictionary. And cinema has always had an interesting relationship with truth. The earliest movies were documentaries, recordings of everyday occurrences such as taking a train ride, walking in nature, or flying to a big moon with a face on it. The French filmmaker Jean-Luc Godin famously described film as 24 truths a second, whereas the Austrian filmmaker Michael Haneke described it as 24 lies a second. However, as neither was being recorded when they were saying this, we have no way of ascertaining which one is factually correct. In our modern, technologically mediated world of deep fakes, fake news, and je fais quoi, it can be difficult to work out what is true and what is not. Personally, I don't believe anything I read on the internet, including my own emails. But of course, the history of lies and deception goes back even further. In the ancient Greek myth of Orpheus, our hero reaches the gates of Hades, only to be confronted by the three-headed dog Cerberus, who forces him to solve a riddle that differentiates truth from fiction using logic. The riddle goes something like this. I like big butts, and I cannot lie. My brother likes big butts, yet always lies, but says that I do not. Who likes big butts? It is said that when Orpheus heard this, he wept. But I digress. Tonight we will watch 2 features and 1 short film, all dealing with the relationship between truth and fiction. We'll watch Mohsen Makhmalbaf's A Moment of Innocence from 1996, Bruce Caulk's 2018 film Conman, and then the first section of Todd Solondz' 2001 movie, Storytelling. People lie for many different reasons. To gain power, to impress, or to garner sympathy. I could lie to you right now and tell you that when I was growing up, my father always smelled of alcohol. But that's a lie. In reality, he never let me physically close enough to know what he smelled like. That's also a lie. But one of the main reasons that people lie is to control other people's perception of them, or to maintain an internal self-image, and that's a theme that we'll see in all 3 of the movies tonight. In A Moment of Innocence, an ex-policeman's sense of self starts unraveling as he reenacts a moment from the Iranian Revolution. The biopic Conman is a highly fictionalized vanity project by its subject, star, and financier. And Storytelling is an extreme version of what happens when the fictionalization of real-life events becomes the subject of artistic criticism. When I was growing up in Iran in the 1990s, it felt very strange. I can remember walking around feeling like I almost wasn't really there. But it was during this period that Iranian cinema developed a unique style that blended fiction and documentary, a style pioneered by directors such as Abbas Kiarostami and Mohsen Makhmalbaf. In these movies, non-actors often reenacted real-life events that had happened to them. A Moment of Innocence is one of these movies. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, please stir your tray tables and place your seats and nipples in the upright position. Turn off your mobile phones or any other electronic devices that might allow the police to locate where you were tonight. And finally, and most importantly, please enjoy the movies. The following movie, Conman, needs a bit of context to fully appreciate. This is a real page 17 of Amazon Prime deep cut. but which might also be one of the most interesting postmodern movies of the last decade. An accidental cinematic monument to one man's ego, narcissism, and sociopathy. This otherwise conventional biopic tells the story of Barry Minkow, a conman who built up a carpet cleaning business that he used as a front for a number of different fraudulent schemes. The film follows his meteoric success, his arrest, and his redemption through faith and law enforcement consultancy. However, after a pretty boring opening 20 minutes, the film makes an abrupt shift forward in time, and our main character is played by the real-life Barry Minkow, who cannot act. Being a con man is about convincingly projecting a fictional version of ourselves. In this context, his stilted delivery of dialogue becomes a metaphor for a mask that has slipped, a persona unraveling, a fiction that no longer functions. The film approaches what Werner Herzog refers to as an ecstatic truth, in which artifice and fiction force reality to unmask itself, to quote Baudrillard, though he probably said it in French. It is through the failed fiction of the film we get to see more clearly the failed person who is its main protagonist. This film, financed by and starring the conman himself, becomes a metaphor for the type of fraud he committed and is, in its own way, a crime against cinema. So, let's recap tonight's movies. If you thought the story of the ex-policeman reenacting his disarmament was real, you got us. You were right, something like this did really happen. And the film about Leonardo da Vinci's invention of the shelf? Was that real? No, we got you. Absolute fabrication, completely false. Bunkum, piffle, and hogwash. That one was put together by our team. And finally, the biopic about the conman starring the actual criminal. Was he really arrested halfway through production of the film, accused of embezzling over $1 million from his parishioners? Well, it was absolutely true, and that really is beyond belief.